Using graphic organizers to determine a theme, practice in using literacy data to inform instruction. For River City District, they took the Reading Assessment RA. It's a norm reference assessment, which means the test scores are compared to a larger set of students' performance to see where they rank and fall relative to others. It's administered 3 times a year. This is a set from the end of the school year. These scores are district-wide per grade. It assesses word knowledge and skills, comprehension strategies and construction meaning, analyzing literacy text, understanding author's craft, and analyzing argument and evaluating text. Green is the percent of students that are at benchmark, which is the average of students that pass. Orange is the percent of students that are below benchmark. 41% of 5th graders scored average or at benchmark, and 59% of 5th graders scored below average or below benchmark. They also took the Ohio State English Language Arts test. This test is a criterion reference test, which means it assesses students' performance against a fixed set of criteria or standards, not against other students, to determine if the student has mastered specific skills or knowledge. It's administered at the end of each year. It assesses reading informational text, reading literacy text, and writing. Scores include all of River City District and then broken down by each elementary school in the district grade 5. In the state of Ohio, 132,290 5th graders took this test. Their average score was 719 and proficient was at 70%. Overall, River City has 181 5th graders in their district, and their average score was 727, with 76 proficient, which is higher than the Ohio average. Breaking down all 3 elementary schools in the district, each school had about the same number of students, between 56 and 66. All 3 schools performed at or better than the Ohio average. Tucson Elementary School had a significant number of students at, near, or above proficient scores in all 3 categories compared to the other 2 elementary schools. Their score was 10% higher overall. Stillwater and Wabash had the lowest scores, below proficient in writing with 30 and 31%, and 16 and 17% below proficient in reading informational text. Both were at 20% below proficient in reading literacy text. Questions. Why is one elementary school score significantly higher than the other ones? Are they using the same curriculum? Are they using supplemental materials? What do their demographics look like? What kind of program or instruction is being used? One-on-one, whole group, small group, pull-out, Title I? Why is reading the highest percent of below proficient in all 3 schools, but especially for Stillwater and reading literacy text analysis broke down for whole district. Most items that offered 2 points possible, more than half of the students earned 2 points on all 4. Content that was lowest of all was number 25. Determine a theme of a story, drama, poem from details in the text, including how characters in a story or drama respond to challenges or how the speaker in the poem reflects upon a topic. Summarize the text. 70% of students were incorrect and only 30% only received 1 point. This is the only content statement where most students got this wrong, and less than half of the students received 1 point on this. For the other content statements, the percent of 1 point earned was greater than the incorrect percentage. Questions to think about. What does this mean for our students? How are we going to help them? What can we change in our instruction to help our students understand the theme of a story, drama, or poem from details from a text? How can we teach our students to figure out how characters in a story or drama respond to challenges or how the speaker in a poem reflects upon a text? How will we teach our students how to summarize the text they are reading? What research-based strategy or strategies should we be using consistently to teach and target this skill? Data item analysis. We're going to look at the scores student by student and look at who earned 1 point for this statement. Using this, we will see who has some concept of theme, analysis, and summarization of text. Looking at the rest of the students, we will decide how we will group the students. Learning is a cognitive apprenticeship that occurs when learners interact socially with others who might support or stretch their thinking so that they can learn how to use and implement the strategies that will be needed to become a literate member of the culture. Students learn how to be strategic and not use just one tool, but instead they need to be strategic to read the entire context and use information within the context to determine what part of their knowledge will support them in the problem-solving process. Question. After looking at the data from the students' test scores and what areas were low, what form of literacy instruction are we going to focus on to better help our students? Comprehension. How are we going to support students with their comprehension? Using graphic organizers. About graphic organizers. To teach students how to use graphic organizers, we need to teach explicit instruction involving teacher modeling, explanation, and think-alouds that help children understand what strategic processes are, how to use them, under what conditions they might be used, and how they might use them. Using explicit instruction, teachers should provide guided practice for readers to use and try out ways of recognizing and using strategic behaviors in varied contexts. Teachers should ask open-ended questions that encourage students to share their own thought processes. Students need to become more metacognitive, meaning they can recognize when text doesn't make sense, which means they recognize the need for strategic action. Students determine whether they need to be strategic, when they need to be strategic, where they need to be strategic, and how to be strategic. Teachers should provide guided practice by incorporating strategies instruction into every aspect of the classroom. Students need to be taught how different texts are organized through the text. Looking at narrative or literature text, we need to teach students they typically have a setting, characters, conflict or problem, goal or plot, and resolution. The use of story maps support the comprehension of literature text because they require students to engage in the text and assist in. What is a graphic organizer? A visual display that demonstrates relationships between facts, concepts, or ideas. They are designed to facilitate the teaching and learning of textual material. Graphic organizers allow teachers and students to summarize and evaluate information into visual models that can be used quickly and easily. Graphic organizers activate prior knowledge before reading, help students monitor comprehension during reading, and summarize key ideas after reading. When would we use them? Graphic organizers should be used when we want to show students relationships between two or more concepts that are linked by words. We want to provide and create a flexible framework for idea and fact development, organizing and prioritizing information. We want to help students see visually the overview of a topic and its complex information, helping students comprehend the information, create new ideas, and build connections. We want to help students generate ideas, sequence order of text and events, create better idea organization, including main idea, supporting idea, or details. Why would we use them? We use graphic organizers because it is a tool we can create for our students that is visually modeling what information they need to learn to help them comprehend and use. They are quick and easy to set and use for them during crunch time or to plan purposefully. They help students record and recall information, see relationships, use appropriate language, and comprehend concepts. The goal is to improve students' organizational skills and to enhance retention of story details and events. We use them to prepare lessons and guide students' achievement. They help us make learning manageable and fun. Organizer strategy displays a schema teaching technique to specifically support learners with reading difficulties by helping connect different parts of the story and highlight its key elements. Kinds of graphic organizers. The KWL chart. What I know, what I want to know, and what I learned. Promote students' prior knowledge, what they want to learn for active reading, and reflect on what they read. Can include fact or opinion. Sets learning goals for students to ask questions and express what they want to learn. At the end, students can summarize what they have learned. 5 W's and H chart. Who, what, where, when, why, and how give students a space to collect key information about a subject used as a student's note-taking tool to organize their thoughts and check their comprehension after reading. Fact or opinion helps students create skills to distinguish, identify, and differentiate fact from opinion to develop readers' competence by finding factual statements supported by evidence and opinion statements. Venn diagram. These help students compare and contrast two characters, setting, events, or other literacy elements by highlighting similarities and differences and making students think about how they organize the information. Story maps, main idea and details help students sort out the main idea in smaller details that support that main idea as they are reading, to take notes and organize ideas, and after reading, recall important information. Story elements, used to help students visually map out the key components of a story, such as characters, setting, plot, problem, and solution. Elements that are prompts that assist students to identify and locate important information and serve to assist students later with their writing and comprehension. Theme graphic organizers. These are used to help students identify and analyze the central message or moral of a story by using details of main characters, their problems, how to change, and what they learn to provide evidence to support the identified theme. Here are 3 different examples that can be used to help students find the theme of the story, or drama, or poem. Character graphic organizer, used to help students analyze and organize details about a character in a story or drama to help improve reading comprehension, critical thinking skills, and writing skills. Summarizing graphic organizer, a visual to help students identify and organize key details and ideas in a text to help guide them to create a summary. Preparing instruction. Reading instruction must be intentionally designed and aligned to students' identified needs with validated instructional practices and appropriate technology selected to achieve the desired lesson objectives. Teachers need to identify the skill levels and needs of all students in the classroom and determine what is required for each of them to successfully achieve the desired goal or outcome of the lesson. Thoughtful analysis of student needs and lesson goals and objectives provides the platform for lesson design and decision making on the instructional strategies, materials, and technology to be incorporated. Expanded direct instruction lesson format may be used to provide instruction on each individual story, grammar, or element before completing any graphic organizer. Many lessons to show modeling and demonstration of the specific story element or mapping strategy is a great visual representation of story grammar. Direct instruction. Expanded direct instruction lesson format may be used to provide instruction on each individual story, grammar, or element before completing any graphic organizer. This framework for planning and incorporates various elements are anticipatory set, where the teacher gains the attention of the students by focusing on the importance of the task and activates the students' prior knowledge. The teacher teaches the input, main concept, or skills. The teacher models with examples and shows and explains how to complete the work. Guided practice by having students practice with one another and with the guidance of the teacher. Independent practice, students practice with new skill without teacher supervision. And closure. Using these 6 elements helps teacher develop and organize the content they are going to teach. Using any kind of graphic organizer, There are 3 stages in constructing a new learning strategy. Stage 1 is modeling. Teachers must explain to students first what the graph is and how the organizer is used. Teachers need to demonstrate to the students how to use the graphic organizer and its role in helping their learning. Students need to learn how content is organized from the organizer they are using at the time and how the graphics work. Students will watch as the teachers read the organizer, think about what information they are looking for as they read. The teacher can read the passage, then complete the organizer while they are reading, or after reading the passage, the teacher can draw conclusions and fill out the organizer stage by stage with relevant information to show the visual knowledge about what was read. Teachers can decide which way they choose depending on student ability and understanding. The teacher can use a stop and go strategy to stop at strategic points of the passage. Each stop contains questions that will aid students in identifying relevant parts of the story. Students should be provided immediate feedback to help them understand the new information correctly. Stage 2 is guided practice. The teacher will read the graphic organizer and passage out loud to the students. After reading, they will be asked to share suggestions for what to add to each section with the class and explain their reasoning. With multiple practices, students can watch as the teacher writes. Then another practice, they can copy onto their organizer what the teacher writes to get a feel for how to write. Students will benefit from multiple practices, and each time the teacher can give them less guidance on what to write, less out loud reading, and more independent readings, and fade out those supports. Stage 3 is independent application. Students will be asked to read a passage on their own and complete the graphic organizer individually. 3 factors to consider when creating your graphic organizers. Coherence. Each graphic organizer should be designed to minimize distractions, clearly label all connections, and include only essential information. Creativity. Graphic organizers should be creatively designed to engage learners' interest and appeal to their aesthetic preferences. Adequate space should be provided for illustrations during their construction. Consistency. To ensure reliability and consistency, graphic organizers should be standardized and used regularly in the classroom. Standardization means aligning them with the cognitive abilities of the intended learners. Ways to scaffold the organizer per student. When implementing and completing the structured organizer, teacher outline techniques with significant amount of teacher support. The teacher can provide a completed example of the organizer and coordinating outline for direct instruction and modeling of the task. Teacher can provide partially completed organizers to help guide the students and provide questions or cues to direct them to see specific details to complete the organizer. This can be missing key information they have to complete the rest of the missing sentence, or clues to where they have to look for the information in that section. Teachers can use a fill-in-the-blank format that requires students to look for that specific information and complete as many blanks given. Scaffolding and differentiated instruction. The goal is for the teacher to provide less detail in the sections of the organizer and outlines and gradually require more independence from the students. Teachers can create different graphs with details for different students reading the same text, depending on how much support they need. Teachers can also scaffold their reading as to how much they read aloud to the students and how much the students read on their own each time. Teachers can also scaffold how much they complete the organizer with the students, gradually decreasing it to on their own or with partners. Teachers can group the students depending on reading level and comprehension level to target which students need more or less assistance. Using reading groups, the teacher can use lower level reading books with lower level students and have them complete the whole organizer with the teacher. If a student is reading a book at an independent reading level, they have a higher chance in completing the organizer on their own with less prompts written in or from the teacher. If students are reading at a more challenging reading level, students will need more support from the teacher. Teachers want to start out with simple passages and work their way up. The teacher can provide prompts and cues that assist students in identifying and locating each specific story element that scaffolds their strategy. For struggling students, we have talked about scaffolding the modeling, scaffolding the graphic organizer, and reading level. Now let's look at alternative forms. Teachers can remove barriers from students by giving alternative forms of text for students who experience difficulties in reading. Struggling readers who have a hard time comprehending as they read can benefit from text being read to them. Audiobooks are a great tool for students to listen and follow as it reads them the book. Then gradually teachers can have students start reading a few paragraphs on their own here and there to help with comprehension and reading support. Teachers can also provide ebooks for electronic readers, video reading of the book, audiobook, text-to-speech, video version, or leveled reading books.